Tesla Q2 earnings slash the numbers related to production and deliveries for the quarter come in better than expected, but the hedge funds don't really like it, but the large investors think it's great. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks once again for joining us. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. We also want to thank our Patreon supporters. If you enjoy our show and would like some in-depth analysis for better trading and investing in Tesla, please join us for our daily shows on Patreon. Note that the 125 and above group gets everyday shows, which includes Thursdays and Fridays, while the other price points get fewer shows during the week. So we want to thank you again for joining us. I wanted to note that we're having some decent weather, as you can see here. Today, it's been kind of crazy. If you've watched sort of the earnings slash trading related to Tesla, initially the stock started out at 676, and it dropped down to 672.73, and it looked like things were kind of bad after the numbers came out because we did not see a very big move in the stock price. What then happened was we all of a sudden saw a move from about 677 where it closed all the way up to 697, and it looked like we were going to burst 700 today, but the market makers trying to execute a pin made sure we didn't cross 700 today, but I think it's just a temporary delay for this to occur. So the big question is, what's going on here? And the answer we're coming up with is, as you know, there are a whole bunch of different constituencies when it comes to every stock, and especially Tesla. The biggest issue that's going on is that the hedge funds needed huge numbers, like 230 plus, to really get excited and push the stock 50 to 100 points today. The key to it now, though, is the fact that there are, the hedge fund guys tend to react quickly, and you see what sort of their take on things is. When it comes to the regular investors, their execution process can be a slight bit different. And what do I mean by that? Well, as we've shared numerous times, we actually are sort of fans of a concept called the 3-day rule. What is that? Well, basically what happens is that for very large investors, prior to making big moves on stock prices, they tend to have the best analysts in the world times 2, 3, 4 review what numbers occurred. This whole process can take 2 or 3 business days, and once they finish that process, that's when they start to move in terms of buying or selling a stock. The other thing about this group is that there are some groups that have to do very high-speed trading that results in sort of get the quick profit and get out. For the larger investors, a lot of those folks tend to be more in a capital preservation process, which means that instead of trying to figure out how to pick the hottest thing in the next 5 minutes, there's a lot more focus on how do we identify solid companies that are growing rapidly that can justify a higher and higher stock price over time. And in the case of Tesla, that's exactly what we have. Yes, Elon has his quirks, etc., but the bottom line is that the valuation currently and higher is justified by the speed with which Tesla is growing. So what do I expect to happen? I think that a couple of upgrades by next week will definitely give a nice boost to the stock. And we're still only in the morning hours of the 2nd of July, so we still have an opportunity for it to sort of recover some of the pullback that it did today, but I wouldn't be surprised to see us enter the mid 700s over the next 4 or 5 trading days. So I'd have to say it wasn't the blow-away number I was expecting. It was an excellent number, but the other thing that we're obviously going to be waiting for is in 2 or 3 weeks, we'll get the full balance sheet to understand what all the numbers are that are showing up. So I'm I want to say congratulations to Tesla and its employees. There's a couple of data points that I wanted to cover today that are sort of left field because we don't do everything that everybody else does. The first item that I wanted to cover is the impact on Plaid. For the last quarter, there were 0 sales listed, at least of Model X and Model S. For this quarter, there were 2,000 vehicles sold, and it's our belief that about 1,000 Plaids sold and were delivered in this quarter. So with each of those Plaids probably offering double or triple the normal profit margin that Tesla gets per vehicle, I believe this suggests that we could end up with some higher sort of profit numbers than expected. The second thing that we wanted to cover is that there was, at least on CNBC, a discussion of the fact that the actual production number was 206 or 206,000 vehicles, but deliveries of those vehicles were at 201. So I think this is kind of interesting because what actually is going on here is there are some vehicles, for example, that might be in transit still to customer orders. There's also the problem of if you started paperwork and it wasn't completed on time, you could have folks who wanted their cars ready to go and the cars were delivered, but it was just a matter of completing that paperwork. So why this is important is clearly the undelivered vehicles are going to feed into the next quarter, but in general, I think it shows a better light to the company with a 206 number than it is with a 201 number, because I just think that that's actually the number that you have to work off of, really. So when we start adding in these things like extra profit from Plaid, adding in things like, the actual number is actually higher, but for what I want to call a technicality, we're now in a situation where the quarter looks slightly better. And 5,000 vehicles is, whatever, 100 billion in revenue. So that extra number can really make a difference. So these are a couple of other side items. In general, though, one of the things that's been happening with Tesla is Tesla's growing very rapidly, and the growth and levels of the stock price are justified by that growth. So when you have this happening and the market isn't on the verge of crashing, I believe this sets us up for a really beautiful next 2 weeks for Tesla as we head into earnings being announced. Now, the other thing about this is that, there are some side items that are sort of trailing this whole issue. What those items include is the fact that there's a suggestion that Tesla might be in trouble given competition, instead of the discussion of the fact that Tesla is in a market that's actually doing very well, and therefore we're in a terrific situation. So I just wanted to review this with you in general and note that, yes, things are going great. And I think that there's a possibility that we see some very high numbers for Tesla, but the process for this will take a few days, business days, for this to sort of come out in the wash. So I wanted to, just quickly get on, make sure you're up to date on what our sense was of the numbers, and say congratulations to those of you who are part of this and successfully got her done. And we look forward to any and all input on the constructive side of things. Reminder, we have a few SpaceX shares if there's interest. We also wanted to encourage you to consider some health tips. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And so I wanted to sort of review this with you because, hey, time to make some money off of solid news on Tesla. Any rate, that is it for now. We will have more for you on this as we get more data that we can work with, and we look forward to constructive comments about what's going on. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Tschüss German, au revoir French, lehit road Hebrew, hoda hespes, Farsi Strasvice, Russian, ni hao ma, Chinese, konbanwa, Japanese, heido, Swedish, Namaste Hindi. Our friends in Australia, G'day. And in Jamaica, we say, Enough respect, walk good man. Thanks for joining us. Congratulations on a great day. And we look forward to many more great ones from Tesla in our process.